Welcome to the Master Your Breath podcast. Today I want to talk about allergies and how to manage them better through the power of breathing, through the power of being aware of your whole breathing apparatus from the nose all the way to the lungs, and using breath work and more awareness of your breathing patterns in daily life to minimize the symptoms of allergies, seasonal allergies. I myself suffer from allergies since I'm a young boy, and it has always been in the springtime, and then more specifically at the end of May. And this year, for some reason, in the middle of May, I was already done with that. I sneeze from time to time, but I'm already done. And so since I have just gone through that period of the year for myself, because it's individual for everyone, I wanted to talk about what I do, what I suggest to my clients and my students that do yoga with me, and spend one episode on that. I'm also, before I start with that topic, very happy that I finally started working on this podcast again, and I record a new episode because the last couple of weeks I was super busy with other projects, so I did not bring out any episode. And as with everything that we start, it's very likely that after a month or two, there will be this moment where it stops, where we just get busy with other things, and then it easily falls off the list of things that we do. And then if we make that too long, if we allow 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks to pass without that new habit that we were just building, it's likely that we just not continue. And that's why I was like, no, today I really have to sit down and just do one episode. And the allergies just were the topic that were on my mind. But I also want you to think about that. What's the thing that you wanted to do this year that you may have even started and stopped? And how can you get back on it today? Like, what's the 1 2-minute thing, 5-minute thing, 10-minute thing that you can do today to start again doing whatever you stopped doing but that you wanted to do? And even in my courses, like I just started my new Master Your Breath course with a wonderful group of students, and the reason why this course goes for 10 weeks is because I know if it goes for 1 month, people will be all in it and really happily do the things. But then after 1 month, they might have a week or so where, okay, now the course stopped and I'll just focus on other things. And then it's like, okay, now the new habit was still too young. It kind of died prematurely because it was just 4 weeks into the new habit. While if I have experienced that when the course goes for 10 weeks, then everybody has those 2 or 3 weeks at the beginning where they get into the new habit. And I make sure at the beginning that the commitment for building this new habit is really the main focus point. Then they are in it, they work on it for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So now we are in 6 weeks. And then usually there's this moment where it's like, well, somehow new things are happening. My kids are having new things to do. I started something else now, or I have some other focus point in work, or the weather got better, or the weather got worse, whatever it might be, whichever season we are in. And then there's this moment of, okay, I didn't do it the last 2 weeks. And so I still have within the course that moment where that happens, so I can encourage them and support them to come back to the routine and continue with it. And then even at the end of the course, when we reach towards week 9, week 10, I usually say, okay, now we have 2 weeks of break and then our next session. So continue whatever you learned until now by yourself. And so in 2 weeks, you will have questions to ask again, and the possibility to ask your questions and get an answer and so on. So I kind of prolong it towards the end and already give them that idea of now you're on your own. And then I usually even add a bonus session another couple of weeks later. So people are not left with this idea of, okay, now the course is over, now I can focus on something else, and then I'll lose that new routine. But rather they are in this situation where it's like, okay, the course is over, but I know in 2 weeks I have another session, so I better keep it going in some way. I feel obliged to do it. And so I'm essentially tricking them into continuing by themselves because they have that little thing soon after that is still a reason to continue. And I guess the main thing here is our mind is really tricking us into like chasing the next shiny object, whatever that might be, any day, but also any week, any month. And so the things that are really important to us, that we really want to improve, that we really want to work on, we gotta commit to it and then find ways to stay with it. And of course, having a coach, having a teacher, being in a course, being enrolled in a course, but then also those little hacks from week to week are important to keep in mind and just to really do it. Okay, now about allergies. First, let me say what I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about medications. Because most of the medications, first of all, I'm not a fan of medication. I take it when I really need to. But if I can somehow manage without medication, I will do that. And since medications are also mainly about suppressing the symptoms or suppressing the inflammation that then creates symptoms, it's definitely something that everybody can decide to do, but it's not really solving the issue. And of course, any medication comes with side effects, and therefore, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm no expert in medications, but also I'm just not the person that takes them if I can avoid it. Then there's, of course, a lot of things with allergies or feeling the symptoms of allergies that you can use to help with reducing the inflammation. Anything that reduces stress, anything that improves sleep, anything where you eat foods that increase your inflammation apart from the allergy, exposing yourself to the allergen. And so, of course, if you are exposing yourself to allergens and you eat food that is creating inflammation in your body, there's more inflammation and therefore stronger symptoms in general. So, of course, that's something that you can do that I will not really talk about. But of course, it's always part of the picture. There's no breath work that you can do that will allow you to eat crappy food and still manage your allergy in a way, right? Like, food has a huge impact, sleep has a huge impact, the stress that you create in your life has a huge impact. So therefore, if you continue doing all these things that increase your stress and increase your inflammation, you will not be able to manage it just with breath work to get much better, because you have all the other things that already push you into the other direction. And there's also various supplements that I'm not going to talk about that help to increase your or improve your immunity reactions and reduce your inflammation. Like, for example, black cumin oil is something that helps if you take it regularly for a while as allergy season is approaching. I'm using that myself, but everybody will react differently and benefit differently from those kind of supplements. I just wanted to mention these things because they definitely play a big role, but I'm not gonna focus much attention on them today because I want to talk about breathing and what you can do with breathing and with all the organs involved in breathing to improve your reaction to the allergens in different parts of your life. So, the first thing that I want to mention before even getting more into breathing is responsibility. I always like to talk about responsibility because it switches the focus away from, well, those stupid allergy season is coming and now I will be sneezing and I will have to take medications or I will have to blah, 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 right? You are being the victim of the allergy season, but rather, what can you do? Allergy season is coming, whether you want it or not. Maybe the weather will be in a certain way that makes it better or worse. Maybe it might be more humid, or maybe there's more wind or less wind, or it's going to be hotter or colder, or it's going to rain a lot, which will wash out the air, or it will rain a lot and therefore all the things that you're allergic against will bloom more and therefore it will be worse. But all of those things are essentially nothing you can do about, and therefore focus on the things that you can do. Put your focus on that. And that brings me to a thing that I always find curious. For example, the focus thing. When I do my yoga practice, I don't sneeze at all. I can breathe well. Even if it's allergy season and even if it's a day where I feel like I'm sneezing a lot, where my nose is full, my sinuses are full, my eyes are itching, all these things. While I'm doing the yoga practice, I'm focused, I can breathe, and I don't sneeze, I don't itch, nothing. The moment I stop, the moment I get out of Shavasana, I might sneeze again. And a couple of weeks back, I was even mowing the lawn. And while I was mowing the lawn, it was all good. Even though you would say mowing the lawn is like exposing yourself even more to all the dust and the allergens, and you're essentially creating a storm of allergens around you in a way. But the moment I stopped that, again, it started. So focus on activities, whatever it might be that you're doing, but make it a point to do something in these days that really puts your attention on whatever you're doing instead of, oh, the allergens are around, I will sneeze, I'm not in a good place, blah, blah, blah. And see if that helps. Then, when we come from focus and responsibility, now what can you do to naturally reduce the symptoms? Meaning naturally not using medication. One thing that I really like to do is flushing my nose and sinuses with water. So I have a syringe that has a tip that I can put on, where I can put it on my nose, but I also have this Jalaneti pot, which is a pot with a little like nose-shaped exit, so you can enter it into one nostril or put it at the entrance of the nostril, turn a little to the side, then you put some saline solution in it, meaning essentially clean water with a salt solution in it. You can buy that at the drugstore, but you can also mix it yourself. So I usually put, the best thing is you can buy it at the drugstore, this neti pot, and then there will be some information on it, how to mix the saline solution. You can even buy the packs of salt that are already measured exactly the amount of salt that you need for a certain amount of water. So if in doubt, you can do that. Otherwise, now I know how much salt I need, so I just use my sea salt that I have at home that is untreated and just put it into the water. I melt it, so I use a little warmer water so it melts a little faster, and then I put it through my nose, left, right, and also backwards. So I will lift my head a little bit, close my nostrils, and just put that neti pot in, so the water flows backwards and then down my throat. And that helps to really flush out all the mucus from the nose, also all the allergens that might be stuck there. The second thing is learning how to open your nose naturally. And that is through practices such as Kapalabhati. So if I'm doing Kapalabhati, it's like pushing out of air with a little more push. So it will sound a little bit like this. Okay. And I might close one nostril and do it just on one nostril. And then I will switch the hand to the other side, close the other nostril, and so on. And so I might do that throughout the day a couple of times, especially in the morning when I wake up and there's a lot of stuff to come out. So first the water, then the air, the Kapalabhati. But then there's other exercises that you can use. So for example, if I just breathe naturally and then I close my nose and I pause the breath after the exhalation, and then I will move my neck and I will lift my chin up and down and turn my head left and right until I feel a mild urge to inhale again, and then I will open my nostrils and start breathing calmly again. What that will do is it will increase the carbon dioxide levels in the air that is in my body, and it will also, through touching my nostrils, touching my sinuses, and you can even massage your sinuses a little bit, create nitric oxide. Nitric oxide and carbon dioxide are antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, and they are also opening the nostrils, opening the airways, and therefore will help to open the nostrils to a point where you can breathe again. Another thing that you can do to open the nose is, by the way, and also turning the head, turning the neck, moving the neck will also stimulate the airways to open and also the nose to open. Now, another thing that you can do is when you breathe, and when we have our nose somewhat clogged, it will usually sound at the nostrils when we breathe. So it will sound a little bit like this. Almost like a sniffing sound, like we want to smell something. If we smell something, we will make that sound at the nostrils. Try to bring the sound back into your throat and then even further down. Because if you breathe with the focus in the throat or even lower, you will create much less resistance in your nostrils. So you can try that yourself. If you breathe through your nose, when you focus on the nose, when you make the sound in your nose, you always breathe through the nose. But when you focus on the nostrils, versus if you focus on the throat, there will be much less resistance in the nostrils when you focus on the throat. And that will help you to keep breathing through your nose, even if there's a little bit of clogging up and a little bit of like allergic reaction filling the nose. And that all will hopefully help you to also breathe more calmly, which will calm the nervous system. And when the nervous system is calm, your body is more likely to fight inflammation and improve your immune response and lower inflammation. And that will lower your allergic response to your environment. But how do you get to the point where you can do all these things while you have the allergy? And here it comes back to, it's not just about handling the symptoms when they're already there, but rather starting early. Really creating this foundation of breathing well and knowing all the organs involved in the breathing process, from the nose, the sinuses, to your throat, to your lungs, the whole airway, and knowing how to regulate your breathing through a calm inhalation and exhalation, passive exhalation that is a little longer than the inhalation, the whole breathing coming from your diaphragm with a nice rhythm, and how to open your nostrils when they are not fully clogged, but just a little bit. So when you learn to breathe well in daily life, following my 6 principles of conscious breathing that I mentioned in previous episodes. When you develop that breathing practice, that of course involves manipulating the nostrils, using these kriyas like Kapalabhati, where you push the air out, but do it in a way that doesn't create dizziness. When you learn how to breathe well in all different situations throughout daily life, when you learn how to breathe well before going to sleep, reducing your stress in that way, and then sleeping better throughout the night, therefore really allowing your body to get all the benefits from sleep, as in your brain detoxing, your body completely recovering and restoring throughout the night, your nervous system being calm throughout the night, you're digesting your emotions and all the mental load from the day, etc., etc. When you have all of this in place, and then you get to a season where you have allergies, where your nose will clog up a little bit, where you have all the mucus building up, you will be able to manage that because you're already managing it in a situation where you can possibly breathe through your nose. And of course, that applies also to the cold season, the flu season during autumn, not just to the allergy season. But building this control and understanding of your body, awareness of your body in good times, then allows you to really manage the symptoms much better when you get sick or when you get the allergy. It's essentially the same as if people say, well, if you're stressed, just take a deep breath. Well, if you're stressed, you will not be able to think about breathing, and you will not be able to control the breathing in the required way. But if you learn how to breathe well and learn how through breathing better to manage your stress, to lower low levels of stress, to sleep better when you're not fully stressed, when you're not having a project to finish, and then getting to a point where it is crucial, where you are in a fully stressful situation, you will be able to do all these things. And that, of course, also applies to what I suggest to people using sleep tape. I usually use sleep tape once in a while because I know I'm breathing only through my nose. But when I'm sick, when I get a cold, when I get a flu, it rarely happens, but if it happens, I will use sleep tape to maintain my nose breathing even if my nose is slightly clogged. And when I have allergy season, I will tape my mouth because I want to breathe through my nose all night long. Even if it means that in the morning I have a lot of mucus in my nostrils that has built up, and now I'm flushing it out through and with the water, as I explained before. But now, if you are the person that says, well, I'm already having a hard time breathing through my nose under normal circumstances, and then during allergy season, it's impossible for me to breathe through my nose because it's so clogged up. And now I tell you, well, just use sleep tape. You will say, well, then I'm going to die. I will suffocate because I cannot breathe through my nose. And that's exactly my point. You have to start way before. So if maybe for you you are in the middle of your allergy season, then just make it a plan for the next season. Make it a plan for the flu season that arrives, in 5 months, in October, November. To start improving your breathing patterns now, to start incorporating a breathing practice, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. Start incorporating some of the exercises to flush the nose, to clean the nose, to become aware of how you can improve that condition. Start using sleep tape in some moments where you feel it's possible. And of course, I have a whole progression for those people that say, I cannot breathe through my nose. Then, you back it off and you go one step before. Maybe not using the sleep tape throughout the night, but starting off in the evening and then so on. So So you first get used to the idea of using it. You release any emotional or mental barriers against using it. You get used to the feeling of breathing through your nose, and also what happens when you feel like you're not breathing through the nose. How does that feel emotionally, mentally, physically? And now what can you do to get back to that like in this situation where you feel like suffocating? Can you now manage to go back to breathing through my nose, even with this discomfort that you feel in that moment? Because if you take that as a practice and you explore it without the pressure of now I have to sleep like this for the whole night, then you will overcome that discomfort. You will feel it and release it. You will overcome the emotional, mental, and physical challenge of that moment, because you approach that challenge with awareness and with maybe even the support of a teacher or a coach. But if you just say, well, I cannot do that, it will never improve. In 20 years, it will be the same problem. And in every season, allergy season or flu season until then, it will be the same problem. So in that sense, it's only you that can say, okay, I wanna change that. I wanna start working on that. And yeah, that's essentially all I wanted to say today about this. If you have any questions about it, then feel free to contact me. Let me know your questions, and I'm happy to answer them in an upcoming episode. You can also find me on social media, on Instagram, Tom Richter Yoga, on Facebook, Tom Richter, or Empower Yourself Through Breathwork, which is my group. You can find some more information and also all the previous episodes on my website, tomrichter.yoga. And of course, you can find also all the episodes on most of the places where you can find podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and so on. Have a beautiful week, and I will be with you again in the next episode.